Hi, this is Randy Kirk. I wanted to do just one more recording with regard to this. This probably won't be the last one. With regard to the Lathrop plant and the entire mega pack issue, clearly this was the biggest breaking news of the last month, having to do with Tesla. You can talk an awful lot about what are the final numbers going to be for this quarter. You could talk about Elon and Twitter and all the rest. But when it comes down to the real nuts and bolts, the real valuation of Tesla going forward, nothing has been a bigger issue than the mega packs coming out of Lathrop. I want to remind everybody that we are taking full credit for having broken this story. I started talking about it on Twitter. Nobody was talking about it. I couldn't get any reaction from anybody. I specifically went out to some of the leadership and suggested that this was a big story. We wrote about it in the book. If you own a copy of the book, look it up. You can see that we were very specific with regard to the Lathrop facility, with regard to what the capacity was, with regard to the profits. We did come up a little short on the profits, at least based on current reporting. The profits are going to be over 50% margins. We were suggesting that they would be at least 30% because why not? If you've got the only facility of its kind and you've got kind of a hold on the entire battery supply in the United States, why would you charge less than a 30% margin? So it turns out that we were off on that by a bit. And if it's true, there's about a 50% or maybe even 60% margin on these batteries, on these mega packs. So we broke this story. And if you aren't currently an owner of the book and you want to see other breaking information and news, then I would highly recommend you get a copy of the book, The Elon Musk Mission. And then you can be ahead as we were so far ahead on this information. So we are now trying to stay ahead because there's a lot of other things that we've already said about Lathrop and about the mega pack that nobody is still reporting on. So just a few weeks ago, I put out a video. You can go still find this video online. And this video was about where would the opportunity be in terms of the customer base, the TAM, the total addressable market for these mega packs. And we also talked about what would be the ramp for Tesla in the United States in terms of total mega packs that they would produce from Lathrop and or from additional facilities yet to be built. So in brief, just let me say that we believe that Tesla will develop 25 times the current capability at Lathrop. Right now, it's capable of doing 40 gigawatt hours at that facility, which will produce about $22 billion or $500 billion a day in revenues. That's what the current statement from Tesla is in terms of the capacity. We have reporting as of today, as I'm doing this video, there's some reporting saying that Lathrop will be ramped further next fall, third or fourth quarter, that they will be ramping towards 100 gigawatt hours, which would be, as you can do the math, that'd be 2.5 times the current level. So that 2.5 times would put it at $1.25 billion a day. Or, well, I have the numbers here somewhere. Let me get them sure I get them right here. It would be, instead of just $22 billion a year, it would be $66 billion a year. I'm sorry, $55 billion a year of gross revenue. And at 50% margins, that would give it $27 billion of net profit from that one facility, if the reporting is correct. Let's say the reporting isn't correct, and it will only be 40 gigawatts out of Lathrop next year. That would still give it about $10 billion of revenues. I'm sorry, of net income from 22 billion in revenues. Now, those revenues don't count the additional income that would come from designing the layout, from shipping it over and constructing it, from ongoing revenues from software, or from the ability to do arbitration on the grid with regard to the energy supply. So no additional revenues from those sources, just from the battery packs themselves, the mega packs themselves would be about 22 billion in revenues and at least 10, maybe as high as 12, $14 billion in profits. Now, okay, we got all that information. Now, what does that mean in terms of Tesla's overall picture? Well, I looked up to see what Stephen Mark Ryan was suggesting would be the total amount of revenues for next year. I mean, so income for next year. He said about 13 billion was his estimate of total income for 2023. So if you add 10 billion to that, that's almost a 50% increase on income that Stephen Mark Ryan's not showing, that Gary Black's not showing, that nobody else is showing. Certainly nobody on Wall Street is showing. Certainly none of the pundits are showing. Only Randy Kirk, the Elon Musk Mission, the other authors from the Elon Musk Mission, we were the ones that were super far ahead on the story. All right, now let's say that they can produce all this product out of Lathrop. I'm, of course, making the claim that they're going to 25 times this over the next 5 years. So that would be 4 or 5 similar sized factories per year in order to ramp this thing up to 1 terawatt of total energy storage out of these facilities. But that would mean there'd have to be a huge market for that. Right now, reporting shows that they're about probably about 6 quarters out in terms of their order book. So they have orders up until the 3rd or 4th quarter of 2024. And there's some additional reporting today that suggests that there are additional orders coming in even now. So the Lathrop factory has a very nice backlog. As a plastics manufacturer, I was always happy to have like a 6-week backlog, maybe a 4-week backlog. Sometimes it dropped down to 2-week backlog. No, they're talking about a 6-quarter backlog today. And that backlog will only grow, as I think you can see if you go back and look at that other video I mentioned, which I will link in the description below. Or I'm just going to give you a quick rundown again. Okay, so quick rundown of where these batteries are going to go and why they're going to need 25 factories the size of Lathrop, or some of them might be bigger. I mean, Lathrop might grow itself, and you know, they might. So again, some reporting there. Let me step back for just 1 second and say there's some reporting there that Lathrop will ramp up in late 2023 to 2024, starting to reach towards 100 gigawatts in that facility. I'm still asking questions about, does that mean more shifts? Does that mean more lines? Does that mean just better run rates? Or does that mean adding on to the facility, a larger factory or another factory in the area? And so we can kind of get that reporting to be more specific about how this is going to take place. I personally am thinking that there will be at least 2 announcements this year of additional Lathrop type facilities somewhere else in the United States, so that we can get those close to where they're going to be put, where the customers are. So who are the customers? Let's go there now. What is the TAM? Where are these huge numbers, massive amounts of dollars in profits going to go? Who's going to want these? All right. The very first one is that everybody who buys a Tesla semi-truck is going to need one of these mega packs. Again, we go into greater detail in this other video, but basically for each 5, maybe 10, Brian Wang of the Next Big Future did a lot of analysis on this. He says between 5 and 10, if Pepsi, for instance, owns 100 trucks, they're going to need between 1 for every 5. So 20 to possibly as many or as few as 10 to 20 of these mega packs to support their fleet of 100. Okay, so that's number 1 place it's going to go. Now, everybody's not going to own their own mega chargers attached to a mega pack and with solar to support it and all the rest that we talk about in that video. So some people are going to be needing to charge up on the road. And so every place that there's a truck stop that puts in a mega charger, those folks are also going to need mega packs to support the mega chargers. It only makes sense. It's, again, just an economic reality that is the smartest way to do it. We go into details on the other video. All right, so now that's a pretty big one because, as you know, they're talking about 50,000 trucks in 2024. So if they have 50,000 trucks, you divide that by 1 by every 10, that would be 5,000 of these mega chargers right there. Lathrop is capable of making 10,000 a year. If it's really 1 for every 5 instead of 1 for every 10, then you're going to need the entire output of 1 Lathrop just to cover the number of trucks that are going to be built in 2024. So there's one big example for you. Number 2 would be Tesla's own needs. So one of Tesla's own needs is going to be their own superchargers. So the supercharger stations all over the United States and all over the world, it just makes economic sense to put in solar and to put in mega chargers, or even if you don't have solar, to put in mega chargers. And again, Brian did the math on this, and I believe that it came in that it would be best if you had 1 mega charger for every 10 state pumps or stations or whatever you want to call them. So 1 for every 10. Now, right now around the world, there's 40,000. And so you would need 4,000 mega chargers just to take care of the 40,000 that are out there already. And then by the end of 2024, they're expecting to have 100,000, and then it's just going to grow from there. And that's just for the Tesla charging stations. There's obviously going to be thousands and tens of thousands of additional pumps, chargers, superchargers and chargers put in by third parties, other parties other than Tesla. The United States government, the state of California, and others are making it, giving tremendous incentives in order to do this. All of those folks are going to need mega chargers as well, because it just makes economic sense to put them in order to balance the grid and to get the cost of the energy as low as possible. So look for all of those folks to be, so Tesla for their own, everybody else standing in line to get basically the only company in town. I mean, it's basically Tesla and nobody else. There's one other customer we talk about, a supplier rather, one other manufacturer, very small, tiny, no evidence that they're planning to ramp to anything like the size of Tesla. Okay, so that would be another group. The next group is maybe the most obvious, and that's the utilities. So you have all these utility peaker plants, thousands of peaker plants around the country. These peaker plants are designed to solve the problem of maximum load, or a load on the grid, which the grid is not able to handle except by employing these peaker plants. When they can see that the grid is under surge, and they need to employ them, they have to fire them up, and then they use them for however long, a couple, 3-4 hours, just to shut them down again. And it's very expensive. The entire thing makes no sense if you can do the same thing with the battery. And in fact, the battery does it instantaneously. It can do it through software. There's no firing it up or tamping it down at the end. It's much more efficient. So look for all peaker plants in the world to be taken down and replaced by these batteries. It's enough for many Lathrop-sized facilities to even get close to solving that problem over the next decade. So then we go from utilities to utilities. So wherever solar, wherever wind, wherever any other kind of power is being put in place, but especially wind and solar, the wind and you've heard it by now, the wind isn't always blowing and the sun isn't always shining. So you want to use the maximum, the max at the highest point that you're getting lots of sun or you're getting lots of wind. You want to be able to store any overage that you produce at that time, so that then you can use it when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing. So every utility in the world, and in particular in the United States, but everywhere around the world, solar and wind installations are being put in at huge numbers. I'm going to do a video. I keep promising this video. I'm going to do a video on just how much is being done. But in every one of those places, they're going to need some kind of energy storage capability, and basically batteries are the best. And Tesla's the only game in town. So huge numbers of Lathrop-sized facilities just to supply all these that are going in as we speak. So then we have Tesla's own utility. So we absolutely know that Tesla is creating their own utilities in the United States and around the world. And so in the case where they are actually putting in any kind of power source or where they are doing arbitrage, then megapacks are going to make a huge amount of sense for them as well. Then we get into one of the biggest areas. I mean, I know you think that these other areas are massive, and they are, but pretty much every factory in the world and lots of other kinds of like retail stores and places that use a lot of energy, large retail stores like a Walmart or a Target, but large stores, large shopping malls, any factory. I had a small factory, 25,000 square feet. And in that factory, a megapack would have been a combination of solar and megapack would have just been obvious. So pretty much think about how many factories there are in the world, in the United States. And once again, you need one Lathrop after another to produce just for the factories would be a huge, huge business. Then you go from business, you go to governments and military. Same story with governments and military. It's just economic sense. It will make no sense not to do it. Then here's an interesting one that Elon brought up the other day, and that is cargo ships and I'm assuming cruise ships. So any large ship that's at sea, they're already running DC motors on those ships. So right now you take diesel and diesel motor engines, and the diesel engines then have to convert it into DC in order to run the motors. Well, with batteries, there's no conversion. You have instant on, instant off. You have you already know all about the power of a motor, of these motors under battery power. It's unbelievable what they can do. So perfect solution. I'm guessing there will be some advantages in terms of how they build the batteries into the structure of future ships or maybe even existing ships. So these are just a few. These are the ones that I came up with. Who knows? There may be more that I just haven't thought of, or maybe you can think of. You can put it in the comments below. So here's another piece of breaking news. So I'm going to read this a little bit because it's over my head technically. Tesla has two 80,000-pound straddle carriers in operation at Lathrop, and these are intended to support 40 gigawatt hours of production there annually. Each straddle carrier can move or pick up and pack up to 10 megapacks per hour off the line into storage. So in other words, those two that they have now can do 20 megapacks per hour. And Tesla just placed a sizable new order for more of these straddle carriers. So if they already have what they need in order to do their daily output at Lathrop, then the fact that they've just placed an order for additional of these straddle carriers would suggest that what the other reporting is saying is true, that Lathrop will be ramping up to higher numbers. Let's see. Then I think that actually covers the whole thing. So if you like this kind of commentary, please please subscribe. We're going to be shooting to go to 100,000 subscribers this year in 2023. That's one of my goals. You can see we're only a little over 3,000 or so now. So you could be one that would help us get to 100,000. If you are interested in being part of my Patreon, I've just made a decision that I'm going to do a lot of content that will be only for Patreon subscribers. I'm going to kind of do a lot of my stream of consciousness thinking. So it'll be way in advance of what's actually happening in the world, where I kind of analyze what I see, just like kind of today. Okay, nobody else is talking about this all of these different places where these megapacks can be sold. Well, that's the kind of stuff I'm going to talk about as soon as it hits my brain. So that kind of stuff, I'm going to put up all these videos will be very early, sometimes up to 2 days early in Patreon. It's only $5 a month to do Patreon, and I'm guaranteeing everybody that jumps in now on Patreon that $5 will be grandfathered. That'll be what it'll be forever. So look down in the comments below for the link for Patreon. Love to have you be part of that group as well. And there's some surprising things coming where you might be able to help out coming up this year. So I'm doing this on New Year's Eve. Happy New Year to everybody out there. I'm sure we're all going to have a great year. The stock is going to go to the moon. It's going to happen this year. Lovely talking to you.